Praise to you, Lord.
When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then Jesus began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." The Gospel of the Lord. There have been lots of efforts through history of great minds giving us distilled wisdom in how to live. We can go all the way back to the book of Proverbs, where Solomon, the wisest human being who had ever lived, the scripture told us, writes down in the book of Proverbs everything that he has heard, everything he has conceived about what it means to live a good life. He says things like, "A soft word turns away wrath, but a grievous word incites anger." He's telling us to be people who speak words softly that wrath might be turned away. A guide for how to live and how to live well. A few of my favorites come from the beginning of the founding of the United States. It turns out George Washington wrote a book called The Rules of Civility. You heard of this? What I found says he began it when he was 14 years old, where he was copying down wisdom from other sources. And a few of the things I remember very clearly, I think about this often, is he says, don't whistle in public, George Washington. I guess whistling is beautiful to the person who's doing it, is the idea. And also not to fidget, George Washington says. Do not fidget or drum your fingers. Things maybe a 14-year-old would need to know. Ben Franklin, actually, also did a similar thing. That maybe won't surprise you. He wrote The Art of Virtue, and he writes about 13 different virtues. And he says things like, eat not to dullness, and drink not to elevation. Eat not to dullness, drink not to elevation. We're drawn to these sorts of proverbs, aren't we? It's like the great minds who have taken their life experience and are offering to us the wisdom that they have discerned as most important, most powerful, most true, guidance for how to live. We're all looking for that. It's in a similar vein that Jesus today gathers his disciples and speaks to them and shares these first words of 3 chapters of the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7. The whole sermon begins with these Beatitudes, these 9 statements about how to be. Now, if you think it's nice to hear from Solomon, or maybe from Ben Franklin, how great to hear from Jesus. Thanks be to God that he took the time and the discernment to conceive these words and then to share them with us. We should be drawn to them like moths to a flame, right? Like this is Jesus saying how to be happy. The word makarios in Greek is happy, happy, blessed. Who of us doesn't want to know more about how to get there? There's lots of ways to talk about these Beatitudes, but it does seem, because there's 9, that they break into 3 categories of 3. And as we look at them, it seems like the first 3 are talking about how to begin, like where we should start. And the second 3 tell us like how we can get moving in our lives. And the last 3 tell us like how to really self-actualize, like how to really go to the limit to live a life that is spectacular and spiritually powerful. And each of these, I'm going to give to you so you can remember, beginning with the letter G. So the first G is to be genuine. And I really love this because I feel like these first 3 Beatitudes Jesus is giving us are simply saying to us, stop trying so hard to be something else or someone else or feel something else or be something different than who you truly are. The first 3 Beatitudes are about integrity. They're about stop working so hard and be who you are. Stand in your nature. Be true to the spirit that is within you. And be honest about ourselves. To be poor in spirit. How many of us are trying so hard to be rich, to have the things that we need, to imagine ourselves as people who have enough and can get enough, and all of this really is ultimately an illusion. In the grave, we're all the same. We all come in with nothing, we all go out with nothing, and what we might have along the way is simply temporarily given into our care. But our real nature, our spirit, is poor. We don't really own anything. We might be caretakers for a moment, but the truth about who we are is that we live completely by the grace of God. So Jesus is telling us to be genuine, be true, be honest with yourself, and be poor in spirit. Let yourself recognize, believe, and just absorb the fact that we are, in essence, all of us, poor, completely dependent on our God. The next one is, blessed are those who mourn. How many of us are trying to oh, I'm fine. I talk to people whose loved ones have died a day ago, a week ago, a month ago. How are you doing? I'm doing all right. No, you're not. There's no way you're doing all right. Let's be honest for a second. It's okay to mourn. Grief is real. It could take you some years to get your feet under you. I told someone recently, I said, I hear it takes 2 years to really get steady. He said, yeah, my brother lost his wife. It's been 3 years. He said the last year was the worst. So maybe it takes 3 years to get your feet under you. Blessed are those who mourn. Jesus is saying, be honest. The world is difficult sometimes. Things are not always wonderful. Feel what you feel. Be what you are. Be honest and true with integrity about the spiritual and emotional reality of your life. Stop trying to paper over it or create a different reality than what is true. Blessed are those who mourn. And blessed are the meek is the third one. We would all love to be powerful, to be blustery, right? We put on fancy clothes, power suits, right? So that everyone will think I'm powerful. Funny that a suit is going to make you powerful. It does make you feel good a little bit. But all of these things of don't think I'm meek. Don't think I'm mild. Don't think I'm small. Don't think I'm powerless. Jesus is saying, blessed are the meek. Look at us. We're fragile human beings. We're doing the best we can. But the truth is, we're poor, we're not always happy, and we're not especially powerful. And those things are just God's honest truth. And there's a freedom to stand in that for a second, to be genuine, and to then find power from the places that are truly powerful, rather than the ones we try to drum up or to project. Jesus begins by saying, be genuine. Blessed are those, happy are those who put away all of the illusions and stand in what is true about themselves. Be genuine. The next set of 3 is to be good. Okay? So if the first ones are just like, stand where you are, the next ones are like, and then if you're going to start moving, there's certain things that require a certain amount of effort where we need to decide, this is what I want, and start to make it happen in the world. And the next three are all about being good. He says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. This is to have a heart, right? A heart, a stomach that says, what I am fueled by is being a good person. I choose to be good. I choose to make that stand. I choose to make those choices. Just to be that light in the world. I hunger for it. I thirst for it. For my own righteousness. I'm going to be a good person, and I'm going to make the choices that are necessary so that I can be as good as I can possibly be. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who are merciful. I want to be a person who is able to have mercy on others. I don't want to be a person who's always judging. Who's like, can you believe they did that? Can you believe they said that? Can you believe they did that? And all of this sort of this judgment and casting about all of these things that I'm in charge of and I'm laying down the law. No, I want to be a person who's merciful. I choose to be a person whose heart looks on people and thinks, I bet they were doing the best they can. These people are trying so hard. Oh my gosh, God bless them. That must be a difficult place to be. What a challenging role to be in. It must be so difficult to be there, to look with mercy and to have mercy on other people. I choose to be that person instead of what I might otherwise be. I choose to have a pure heart. Blessed are those who are pure in heart. My heart will be pure. As much as I can do it, as much as I can control what comes in my eyes, as much as I control about what I think about others or how I choose to turn my heart, I will have it be pure, I will have it be whole, I will have it be clean, I will have it be full of light. If the first three are to be genuine, the next three are to be good. And Jesus is calling us. This is what it means to be blessed. This is how you live happy, is by making these choices. The third one is to begin. And I'm faking the G a little bit there. Be genuine, be good, and now begin. Because there's a level at which our lives come where we actually have to go out and begin to do something. And this is actually a place where it's very hard for us sometimes. Like, well, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my circle, but I don't want to make waves. I don't know what people are going to think about me. I'm not sure how people will judge me. I'm afraid I'll get out over my skis. I love that phrase. Get out over your skis, because we all know what happens when you get too far out over your skis. What if I go out too far? I don't have enough information. And then I end up standing there all alone. There's so many things that keep us from wanting to begin. Jesus understands that. That's why it's level 3, right? Start with being genuine, work on being good, and when that time comes, it's time to get up and get out and do something that makes a difference. Blessed are the peacemakers. To go out and to make peace instead of making war, instead of making arguments, to seek to find the common ground, to be a person who stands in the middle and de-escalates. De-escalates. Everybody de-escalate. Everybody wants to get into the middle of the circle and escalate. I mean, because what happens, right, is there's that thrill. Oh, I see an argument and I have an opinion. Let me get in the middle of it. Jesus is calling us to be peacemakers, to get out there, to begin, and to be the de-escalator. Remember, soft words turn away anger. A wise person once said this: blessed are the peacemakers. We can do that in ourselves. We can do that in our families. We can do that in our church. We can have our eyes open, look for arguments in the parking lot, and ask, how can I be a peacemaker? To settle people down, to bring them to a common ground. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. This is because the world is not designed around righteousness everywhere. We're doing the best we can, right? We're creating a society. We're building a civilization. We've got thousands of years of work, lots of choices we've made that are bad. We're all working together to try to make a better civilization, but it's not yet founded completely on righteousness. There's still a lot of grift. There's still a lot of guilt. There's still a lot of people making power plays and things. And to be a person who is persecuted for righteousness' sake is to say, I'm willing to stand for what is right
I'm so willing to do it that even if the world does turn against me, I'm willing to take that stand. Because I know that matters. I know this is true. And I'm not trying to tell other people how they have to live their lives, but I choose to stand for this, to speak for this, to draw attention to this, and to call action around this. And the world can figure out its own stuff, and if people don't like to hear it, we can't manage everybody else's emotions. Right? It is level 8 of 9. Right? It's a very high level, it's a very far along, but when the time comes to be willing to be persecuted for righteousness' sake, the right is so important that it's more important than what might come against me in that moment. The last one is, blessed are you. Jesus makes this shift. Blessed are they, blessed are they, blessed are they. And now he really wants to bring it home. Blessed are you when people revile you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely. Why? On my account. It sounds a lot like the one before, being persecuted for righteousness' sake, but it's not. It's you being reviled because of Jesus. Because of Jesus. This is the last one. This is the highest one. This is level 9 of 9. Blessed are you when you are so dedicated to living Christ, to being filled with Christ, to talking and acting and serving like Christ, that people say bad things about you because of your Christ-likeness. To be willing to begin, to go out there and to shine that light, to make that difference. And when they turn against you, Jesus says, this is the only one, he says, rejoice and be glad. Why? Because they persecuted the prophets who were before you. People like Micah, people like Isaiah, people like Jeremiah. They were willing to do these things, all of these things. And we still say their names 3,000 years later because they shone so bright. These 3 G's. To be genuine, and then to be good, and then to begin. I just want to wrap this up by saying, you know what 3 G's is? Oh, just occurred to me, it's actually cell phone. You're probably thinking so. I may add that as a metaphor for the 10 o'clock. But in preparing this sermon, I was thinking of 3 G's more like astronauts, right? When you pull G's, are you familiar with this term? Right? 1 G is normal gravity, 2 G's is when you really start to accelerate. It turns out on the space shuttle, it takes 3 G's. You're pulling 3 G's in the acceleration to break out of the Earth's gravity and to be able to go into the heavens. This is what Jesus is calling us to do, to be willing to bear 3 G's, all 3 of them. The first one is normal gravity, to be normal. The second one is to start accelerating with being good. And the third one breaks us from the Earth's gravity, pulling us back to who we used to be so that we can go forth to the stars and find the kingdom of heaven and be the weightless people, be the ascended people, be the holy people that Christ has called.